All right, Nick, let's talk about one of our favorite teams to talk about, none other than the Detroit Lions. I feel like every week the Lions are doing something really interesting, and they always give us a lot to talk about. And this week is no different today. They showed up to someone very interesting at a pro day this week, Nick, and I think the Lions have their sights set on a very interesting player.
Yeah, Miles, you dug up a very interesting report from the Lions. I think Lions fans will really be excited to learn about. But before we get into that, Lions fans, we want to hear from you guys, as we always like to, in the comment section below. Draft season is right around the corner. We finished the first waves of free agency, so now all eyes are focused right now on the NFL draft. The Lions have an early top 10 pick, and we want to hear from you guys right now based on the current state of the Lions roster. Who do you really want to see the Lions take with their first pick in the NFL draft? Let us know in the comment section below. But all right, Miles, what you got? What's the latest out of Detroit?
Yeah, Nick, so Detroit, when you look at the team, it looks really, really solid. But one thing you got to think about is the future. And that, in my mind, it comes with Jared Goff. How much money is he going to demand? Is he worth all of the money going forward? His contract runs out soon, I think in the next year or so. He's going to have to, they're going to have to make a decision. Do they want to stay young, or do they want to allocate all the resources to a quarterback like Jared Goff? I think maybe staying young at the quarterback position would suit the Lions a little bit better here, because they can continue this rebuild around a rookie quarterback. I think this has kind of always been the decision they had made, and they kind of started to solidify that a little bit when they went to BYU's Pro Day, Nick. And here we have the article, but they're talking about BYU quarterback Jaren Hall, and he had a really, really great Pro Day, and they talk about his age here, and that's where I'm going to start. At the top of the article, it says the age does not bother teams, as we see more quarterbacks playing and thriving into their 30s. The Minnesota Vikings, the Seattle Seahawks, the Detroit Lions, and the Indianapolis Colts all have had interest in Hall. In fact, Indianapolis has compared Hall to a Jalen Hurts type quarterback, and they always gonna have to keep your eye on him, because everybody is looking at him to be one of the second-tier signal callers. Not the Bryce Young, he's not the C.J. Stroud, but he's in the conversation with the guys like the Will Levises and the Anthony Richardsons, because he has really great arm talent and mobility, a la the Jalen Hurts comparison. What do you think about Hall? What do you think about the Lions looking at Hall, or looking at quarterbacks in general at pro days, Nick?
Yeah, so I think the thing that jumped out at me that was really interesting is you've seen a lot of teams, right, especially with the top 4 quarterbacks in this draft, they'll go to their pro days, if nothing else, to be a smokescreen. So if the Lions went to, say, the Anthony Richardson pro day, who I don't think they're actually seriously interested in, they're only going to it to send a message to the rest of the NFL that they might take him, right, just to not show their cards for the early round draft pick, because that's where the most of the value is potentially with the trade up or a trade down, is when you have a top 10 pick. You don't want to show your cards in that situation. Hall is not that situation, right? He's a second round, late first round kind of guy. He's not one of the top 10 picks, at least the way it's not projected right now. So the fact that Lions would go to BYU, to me, shows a very distinct interest in potentially acquiring him. And when you look at the Lions, how they've structured their roster, and according to Spot Track right now, the Detroit Lions actually have the 3rd most cap space currently today in the NFL. Now, what does that mean? Because a lot of the big names are already gone. They're probably not going to go through and spend their 25 plus million remaining in cap space over the next few months. If you don't spend your entire allotment of cap space in a single season, that rolls over into free cap space the following season. So if the Lions spend another, let's say, $8 million in cap this season, they'll roll over $17 million plus into next offseason, where they're already projected to have this insane amount of cap space. Teams, when they're managed by smart people, like Holmes is a smart GM, they do that because they're looking to make big moves to surround a key player. And usually that involves a young quarterback. Teams free up cap space to surround a young quarterback with elite level talent. Now, of course, they have Jared Goff. If Jared Goff continues to play at an extremely high level, they could keep rolling down that train. But I don't think so, Mize. It seems to me, and I agree with you here, that the Lions are putting themselves in a position to at least have the option to go after a guy in the late first, early second round, get a quarterback like that, and then next offseason, load him up with tens of millions of dollars of cap space of talent around him, a la Trevor Lawrence last season for the Jacksonville Jaguars, and have that guy be the face of the franchise. And look, we've seen it work before. Heck, the Eagles pulled it off. Jalen Hurts was a second-round pick, right? If you look at that comp, we see how it worked out for them. right? You look at, of course, the most famous example is probably the Chiefs. They had Alex Smith. They were going to playoff games. They upgraded with Patrick Mahomes, traded up, got him in the middle of the first round, surrounded him with elite level talent, and look at the Chiefs now. So that is currently the pattern to win in the NFL. Get a quarterback, surround him with elite level talent. Everyone's aware of that. And I think that's what we're seeing from the Lions here. They're looking to see their guy that they can get maybe early second round. I love the Jalen Hurts comp because I think they're trying to follow that same track that the Eagles did. What do you think of the Lions right here, Miles, going after Hall and just everything with their cap space right now?
Yeah, it makes sense to me because you look at a couple of things, Nick. They've really shored up the secondary on the defensive side with the Sutton and the Gardner Johnson signings. Okuda had been getting better last season. I think he can maybe morph with the help of some other elite guys around the ball. Their D-line has always been a very interesting one. Kaminsky comes back. You have Pascal, who he could be a superstar in the making. He had very short production last year, but you never know as well. But then you got Aiden Hutchinson, really, really great pick by the Lions. You got the linebacking core. They seem comfortable with Rodrigo and Anzalone. So the defense looks pretty good. The offensive line looks pretty good. Now you look at the backfield. The backfield looks good running back wise. I think they made a few smart signings there, and as they always retain Swift. But then you look at the receivers. The receivers, they may be like one elite receiver off of having one of the better wide receiver cores in the NFL, Nick. And that's what I'm seeing. I'm seeing them get a young quarterback, maybe get a couple of big-time signings. Maybe they get another tight end. Maybe they get another top-end receiver. And maybe they wait, like you said, till next year, let that cap roll over and see who comes available on the market then. I just see a lot of upgrades more on the offensive side rather than the defensive side. And I think that is because they're trying to build around a young quarterback. So you roll the dice on a guy like Hall, see if he pans out, see if he's looking really good, and then you can build around him. I think this is really smart move by Detroit, but that's what Detroit has been doing the last few years, Nick, making smart moves. So I'm going to trust whatever decision they decide to make.
And again, Miles, just to end on this, this is not an indictment of Jared Goff and saying Goff stinks and move on. This is just the way the NFL is, right? This is what the Eagles have done, and they've been very successful. The NFL is a copycat league. Holmes is a very smart GM. Follow the path of smart people, and you'll be successful. And that's why I give the Detroit Lions a lot of credit, because at least the way it looks right now, they seem to be executing a perfect strategy that'll work out well for them in the long term.